If you find psychic mediums and the concept of spirit babies interesting, then today's episode is going to rock your socks. We have a psychic medium, Mo, on with us, and we talk about so many things. We talk about intuition. How do you tap into your own intuition? From her point of view as a psychic medium, how can you connect with loved ones who have passed? And also spirit babies, which is this concept of your children, but in spirit, whether they are meant to come in through your life or you've unfortunately had miscarriage, infant loss of some type, but that those spirits are always connected to you and different messages that they have. And then she even had some messages for me that came in about my spirit babies and some different intuitive things that dropped into the show today, which was so special and so cool to see her gifts in action. And I think you'll leave also knowing, what does your intuition look like and how do you start to develop it? You don't have to become a psychic medium, but our intuition has so much information for us to help us lead just easier, more fluid lives. So with that, let's get into the episode. Welcome to Confessions of a Spiritual Entrepreneur. I am your host, Samantha Fackler, business mentor and brand strategist. This show is about what it takes to build something in public. A business, a body of work, a brand, or a creative project, so that you reach the right people. After 14 years in brand and marketing, I've seen so much confusing advice out there that tells you either need systems and rigid frameworks or intuition and manifestation vibes. And from my experience working with over 100 companies and even more clients, I find that growth is somewhere in the middle. So here we talk about the real choices of creating, showing up, and attracting the people that your work is meant for. Right now, I am very pregnant while running my company, so that journey will probably make its way into the show too. I'm glad you're here. Let's get into it. If you're feeling a little scattered in business, like you could show up, but you're not fully clear on who you're speaking to or what you're supposed to say, this is for you. I created something called Focus Pocus, and it is a simple reset. So you quickly understand who is your true target audience, what is the one channel that's going to be highest performing for you and easiest to show up on, because that's different for everyone. You will also learn how to understand what works on that channel for your audience. And finally, how to show up there confidently so it doesn't feel like you're climbing cringe mountain every time you show up to post. It is not a full brand overhaul, but it is about getting focused and moving again quickly. You can check Focus Pocus out in the show notes. Mo, psychic medium, welcome to the show. We are so thrilled to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
There is so much to cover today, and you are a psychic medium. When I first stumbled upon you, you're actually known for drawing people's loved ones' faces without seeing their photos or anything and being able to connect to spirits, which is so powerful, such a huge gift with your mediumship. But also, you play in this realm of spirit babies as well, which is going to be our main topic for today. I'm sure you probably get this question a lot, but before we fully dive into spirit babies, how does your mediumship work? Like, how do you receive messages and are able to communicate between people here in this 3D reality and then spirits who are not?
That's a really good question. So, for me, I use all of the different psychic senses. So, I'm predominantly clairvoyant. So, that's how I'm able to see people's loved ones in spirit so clearly. And then, being an artist, I'm able to draw them, at least to the best of my ability. But there are different levels of spirit and frequencies. So, to be able to connect with other entities like angels, for example, and spirit guides, I see that differently than when I'm connecting with people's loved ones. And when I'm connecting with someone's loved one, I can see them in my third eye, not plain sight. A lot of times people think I'm seeing them in the room with me. That's not the case. It's actually in my mind, which explaining that sounds a little crazy too, but
But I get it. It's like you have this vision, you can kind of see in your mind's eye their face. And then because you're an artist, you then have this another ability to actually draw them. And it's so incredible. And I think also there's something to that with different spirits that you're encountering. They have different energies, right? And I'm sure you encounter different personalities and things that come into readings.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's probably my favorite part of mediumship, being able to understand and get to know the spirits because the personalities, yeah, they're so different. And it just makes it kind of fun to see just the humanity in the spirit. I think that brings a lot of comfort to people knowing that their loved ones, they are who they are, even in the afterlife.
Yeah, there's this soul level essence that was with them here and also has been carried with them beyond. And I imagine with spirit babies who haven't yet incarnated in this life, that essence is there too.
Yes. Well, it can be complicated with spirit babies, depending on whether they're coming into this life or if they are children who have passed. For children who have passed, so if there was an abortion, miscarriage, stillborn, or infant loss, sometimes they weren't developed enough to have that connection. Their soul exists, but sometimes I don't always see a gender. Sometimes I don't see the personality, but at the same time, I can still sense how their loved ones find meaning for them and cherish them, and they'll bring through evidence of how they're honored, which I think is very beautiful, but it's very different. For example, if someone's expecting, like you, for example, you mentioned you're pregnant with a beautiful baby girl, and I can see that for you. If you don't mind, I do see like predictions with her.
I'm open.
Okay. First of all, I see you being a mother of three. And I feel like I could see you having two under two, and it feels like two girls because I see them both having lighter hair and they feel similar in age, almost like twins. But I feel like the oldest is going to be a little bit more sporty. And I am also seeing a young boy for you, so I feel like your youngest child will be a boy. So that to me, it's different when I'm channeling children who are coming into this world. Especially if they're closer to coming into the world, there's a stronger connection versus if it's a few years down the line, I can kind of get a sense of the energy, but I don't have a lot of information to work with yet.
Interesting. Okay. And I want to speak more about that too, because obviously there's kind of a journey there, right? I mean, I guess what is the difference there? Is it just because they're farther away, or maybe the parents haven't decided it's time yet, or it's just not time yet? So, how does that work?
I wish I had all of the answers. I feel like personally, it is the timing, meaning it's a few years down the line. So there's a sense of an energy, but it's just not, maybe it's not solidified yet, or maybe the soul contract hasn't been established. But I don't have all the answers. Those are just my assumptions based on what I do.
Yeah, completely. And I mean, it's so beautiful that you shared too that you are picking up on three children. My husband and I have always talked about two to three, just seeing how things pan out. And the first one being sporty is so funny because we've sensed that this one is going to be pretty high energy. So that tracks.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely see that. And I feel like the second one will be like more creative, more of a creative spirit.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that too. It's so interesting. So, like, let's take that for example, right? So, when you can sense into those, what was happening for you? Was it that you kind of saw something or felt something, or what were those qualities?
I saw visions. When I see that for you, I see two girls and I see them a little bit older and I see them having lighter hair with a little bit of a curl to it. I see them looking similar, so I feel like they will be close in age. And I did hear two under two, so that's my clear audience. But I saw a vision of one of them being more, I think I said sporty, right? Because I saw a bat. I saw like a yellow bat, like a plastic bat. Yeah. I'm not a sports person, so I don't know. That's like baseball or something.
Yeah, some sort of ball sport.
She's gonna be sporty. And the second one, I see more of like literally like coloring in a color book and stuff like that. And then I see a boy, and the boy, I feel like there's an age gap. It almost feels like an unexpected pregnancy. and I see him having brown hair. So it feels like there's a little bit of a gap between the daughters and the son.
Okay. Wow, that's so beautiful. I mean, thank you so much for sharing. What a gift. And it's so interesting how you get these different senses and you get these visions. And of course, as an artist, you are so visual. So it makes sense that these would come in this way. And I think, like, backing up for a bit, when we talk about spirit babies, do you have like a definition of what a spirit baby is?
I would say all children in spirit. I think it's important to keep it simplified because that could mean children who haven't been born yet or children who passed away. But it's interesting because there's a complexity that I see with spirit babies that I don't see with other souls. For example, the only time I have experienced reincarnation, a quick reincarnation, because typically when I see reincarnation for other souls, it's like decades in between. But for babies, sometimes people miscarry and then their next pregnancy, it's the same soul that comes in.
Wow.
Have you ever heard anyone talk about that before?
I read a little bit about it, I think in the Spirit Babies book that we were talking about before by Walter Mackichan. But I'm interested in that because I feel like miscarriages are so common and especially between babies too. And I think people wonder from a spiritual lens, like, what was the purpose of this miscarriage? What was it here to teach me? But on the spirit baby side, what was happening with them?
Absolutely. It's very interesting because I have many clients and friends who have experienced miscarriages, and it's so unfortunate how common it is. And I understand why people don't talk about it. But because people don't talk about it, there's a lot that's unknown about miscarriages. And several people I know who have experienced this have told me that they felt their baby was being reincarnated in their next pregnancy. And often they tell me, they're like, you're going to think I'm crazy for this, but I have this feeling. I'm like, girl, I talk to dead people for a living. I promise I don't think you're crazy. If anything, like, I get it. I see, I understand. I believe you. I've had at least four people in the past year come to me and tell me that they felt that. And I think that's amazing because I do see that to be true for some people. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen.
Yeah, and I imagine with abortions, choosing to terminate a pregnancy is something similar there, where maybe it's just like not the right time? Or do you find that there's some sort of spirit baby dynamic there?
Yeah, so that can be similar. I have seen that as well for abortions. And I also think it's interesting because while these souls do have meaning and they do exist and they are in the afterlife with our soul family, that's what I like to call all of our loved ones in the spiritual realm, they are also very understanding souls. So a lot of times people, they're the age old abortion argument of if the spirit exists, then it's a human being. And that's just not how spirit works, though. If someone chooses not to have a child in this lifetime, spirit is okay with that. And I know a lot of people who have experienced abortion, they feel a lot of guilt about that or they get in their head about it. And I hope it brings people comfort knowing that that's not something that spirit will ever hold against you. And I don't know, when it comes to like sins and the afterlife, I don't believe in any of that. I feel like we're just all human beings and we all have choices to make in this lifetime, and that doesn't impact our afterlife.
Completely. Yeah, it's so interesting how we go through this journey and the thought of kids or no kids comes in, or the experience of kids versus no kids happens in whatever way, whether it's, as you said before, miscarriage, termination, stillborn, infant loss. Unfortunately, these things do happen. And for people who are considering maybe having kids, maybe not. Like one of my friends comes to mind. She lives in New York. She just got engaged. She's in her mid 30s and she's like, I don't know. Like, we either stay in New York and probably don't have kids, or we have kids and move somewhere else. And for those people, do you think there's any way to sense, like, is there a spirit baby that wants to come through? Is it ultimately their choice? I guess all these questions come up for that specific kind of situation.
When it comes to children, I want to say it's ultimately our choice, but then there's sometimes it just happens. And even in the case of, say, you have a family member who is in active addiction and they can't take care of their child, and the next thing you know, you are the parent, or someone passes away and you're the godmother, and now you're taking care of a family. I've seen these instances, and I do believe those are also forms of spirit children. And when it comes to the soul family, it's not always about blood relation, it's about connection and how your spirit feels. So it can become very complicated, but yeah, potentially if they were trying and if that's something they really wanted, then they could make it happen, I guess, depending on what they're looking for.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I'm glad that you brought up too that like not all spirit babies may come from us if we are the expecting pregnant parent. I was with a friend once and we were chatting with this woman who was also a medium and specifically worked a lot with spirit babies. And she had sensed with my friend, oh, yeah, you have one, but she's already here. And her fiance has a 5-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. And right when they got engaged, his daughter started calling her mom, and she really feels like she's her mom, even though she didn't birth her. I can even see their closeness as like a soul family of sorts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah, I think so too. It's like there's so many different ways that children can come into our lives.
Absolutely. And it could even look like a sibling with an age gap, and you're the mother figure in the household because mom's working too much. And there's absolutely many infinite ways where you could be a mother figure. And when I connect with spirit, that goes with any relationship. You can have a mother figure that's not your mom, and a sibling that's not your sibling, like a best friend or a cousin who's very close to you. So, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I think of my husband's best friend, and they kind of grew up together. They met when they were very, very young. And I think he's like my husband's brother in a way. They get on each other's nerves and they test each other, but there's such a brotherly type bond there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a question for you because I've never been pregnant. So I know that you're very intuitive. How do you feel like your pregnancy has affected your intuition?
Oh my gosh. It has skyrocketed my intuition. I feel like I've kind of changed my operating system as a person. Before, I was very like plan focused. I'm a Capricorn. I like goals and very ambitious, very, very work focused too. And I felt like the minute I got pregnant, it was like, oh, we're changing up everything. Your intuition actually is going to be the thing that leads you. Forget some of these plans that you had, they're not going to happen, and your priorities are already changing drastically. So work is not at the top anymore. So I think all of those things have led me to trust my intuition more, which then also strengthens it. And I think, yeah, I just feel like I'm picking up on stuff all the time, and it's really cool. And I hope it continues. I've heard that it just continues into motherhood. It's like when they say like your mom knows what you're doing when she's turned around, like she has eyes in the back of her head. It's like I think that's part of it, that like motherly intuition that comes online.
Oh my gosh, it's a new level unlocked.
Yeah.
A new level of intuition unlocked.
Yeah. I think too the dreams, like for me, dreams have always been a very interesting way that I've communicated. I don't know, like received different like messages about my life and things that don't feel like just a normal dream. Or I've had prophetic dreams in the past, and those have been intense.
Absolutely. Do you keep a dream journal?
I do, yeah, because that helps me recall the dreams. Otherwise, I forget.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that you do that because I receive a lot of my downloads as well and like psychic predictions through dreams as well. Do you ever dream about your loved ones who have passed or even like your future children?
I have dreamed about our daughter a few times, and she always has like these big blue eyes, and she's really present. And then I have dreamt about my grandpa who passed, specifically when he was kind of transitioning. He came in, and I remember one time he like apologized about paperwork, which is so funny because he used to have all this paperwork on his desk, and he worked until he was like in his mid 80s. And we would always kind of joke about it, like, what paperwork do you have to do? Like, you're what? And so I thought that was kind of sweet.
Aw, I love that. I always associate those as visitations from spirit. I guess for people listening, if you're ever dreaming about your loved ones who have passed, I always associate that they're coming to visit you and it's just them saying hello in their own way. So it's funny that he came through with the paperwork.
I know. Yeah, and that's what it feels like. It really does. It's like what I've noticed over time, especially writing down my dreams, and I'm sure you feel this too, is that some dreams just have a different feel. Some
Yeah.
feel like they're just so real. You can feel textures and see colors, and it's completely vivid and concrete feeling. And then others are really fleeting and random.
Oh yeah, it's like riding a skateboard, seeing a spaceship. Like first of all, I would never be on a skateboard. I have had dreams about my future children as well. That's why I asked because even though I'm not pregnant, I'm not even trying, I'm not even seeing anybody. It's interesting. Like a lot of women will say that they have these experiences, and I'm interested that you have them as well.
Wow, yeah, I've heard that too. Friends who maybe even have one child and then they dream of being pregnant and they're not pregnant yet, but it's like this sign of another baby coming at some point.
Yeah. Or even I've predicted some of my friends' pregnancies through my dreams. Sometimes that will come through. The other day, actually, a friend from college I haven't spoken to in years, I had a dream that she posted a pregnancy announcement and it was a girl. So I texted her. Actually, I didn't even have her number, so I messaged her on Facebook. I was like, hopefully she checks her Facebook. And I told her what happened, and she sent me back an ultrasound. And she said, we just found out it's a girl. We haven't told anybody yet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So cool.
I mean, yeah, sometimes it just blows my mind too. But it's so beautiful, I think, that our babies in spirit, they're with us before we even know. And for that matter, I always tell people who are experiencing grief, because a lot of people are distraught that their loved ones can't meet their babies because maybe they passed away before the baby was born. And I always like to remind people that your loved ones in spirit, they're a part of your soul family, and your babies meet them before they're even in this world. So that's a really beautiful reminder for anyone out there who's dealing with grief because I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that really is. And I think too, your point that like your spirit babies are around even before you are thinking about becoming pregnant or ready to bring a child in, because I've had this sense that like even in these dreams when I dream of our baby, it's like she's watching us, like she can see what we're doing. Do you think that there's a way that people can connect to spirit babies on their own?
Absolutely. I feel like everyone has the ability to tap into their intuition, first of all. And the way I define intuition, it's your own energy, understanding yourself and your own energy. Especially if you are a woman, I feel like you will be able to tap into that energy because your children are quite literally an extension of you. My recommendation when it comes to tapping into your intuition, meditation. Meditation and groundwork, they're so important when it comes to understanding your own energy. And honestly, it's the foundation for connecting with spirit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I felt like until I did this one meditation retreat and actually took it seriously and sat with myself for a long time, that was when my intuition felt like it unlocked. And I started to be able to pick up more on my gut instinct. And then I started to trust that more. And then I started to have more clairvoyance, clairsentience, and yeah, just start to pick up on different little things that I didn't notice before.
Yeah, absolutely. Because right now we live in a society where our nervous systems are just shot. We're overexposed to information constantly, whether it's listening to music, listening to the TV, doom scrolling on our phones. That's all interfering with our connection because we're unable to relax our brain. And once we're able to master relaxation in its truest form, we're able to raise our vibrations and connect to spirit.
And let's say someone is able to find some space, get really present, they don't have any devices distracting them. Is there like a question they should ask themselves or something they can do to kind of start to sense like, is there a spirit baby around?
I guess they could ask that question.
I guess that's it. Yeah.
Ask yourself if you can sense anyone around you, if you can sense a child coming into your life, or even just sense your week ahead if you're interested in that as well. And I thought you were going to ask, what if people are in this perfect environment and they can't connect? Because that's also very common. And I think there are different forms of meditation. First of all, a lot of people struggle with clairvoyance, which is being able to see psychically. So you might be more clairaudient, you could be more clairsentient. Try to find a meditation that suits you and your abilities, and practice makes perfect. I know it's like corny and not everybody likes to hear that because sometimes it takes real practical effort, but it doesn't come as easily for all of us. So sometimes we have to put in that work.
Yeah, I've seen that people are drawn to different types of meditation. Some people physically need to keep their body moving, so they do more of a walking meditation where they're just taking in the sights, the sounds, the sound of their feet on the ground, really getting into the senses. And then other people, they want their eyes closed, they want to be still, focused on the body as an anchor.
Absolutely. Or even art therapy, which I saw a vision of you being like very artistic as well. I don't know if you're like into painting, but I saw a vision of you like painting as well.
Cool.
Very random.
I do love the occasional canvas day where I just throw some stuff on a canvas and see what happens.
But that's very meditative in a way. I find that to be very relaxing. Just painting, I could paint for hours and then you look down and it's like, whoa, it's midnight. What happened?
Yeah, exactly. And I think for me, I try not to paint something because then I get on myself like, oh, I'm trying to paint this peach and it looks like a duck. But if I go more abstract, then I'm really just enjoying like the feel of the brush on the canvas and the texture of the paint and stuff. So I can see how that can be a meditation too, because you're just so present with what's in front of you.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. So let's say people do kind of find their groove, let's say, with whatever practice it is that's really grounding, that gets them into this space where they can start to sense their intuition. You mentioned different clairs, and I think most people don't totally know what each of those are. So would you just mind briefly going through each one and how they show up?
Sure. So there's clairvoyance, which is the clarity of seeing. There's clairsentience, which is the clarity of feeling. Clairaudience, I believe that's actually tasting. There's two that I get mixed up. Clairaudience, there's one for tasting and one for smelling. And then there's clairaudience, which is the clarity of hearing spirit. So for each one, it could look different. Like clairvoyance, it could be dreams, as well as visions, as well as, oh, I'm looking at something, my phone's in front of me. Oh, a phone could be significant. Sometimes spirit does that to me. I have a map behind me. It used to be in front of me, and I would see like different states or countries that would stick out, and it would come through in the reading, and that's also a form of clairvoyance. Or clairaudience, it could be like hearing a song in your head, hearing a song in the store, or a whisper in your ear, a ringing in your ear. And when it comes to taste and smell, those ones are more niche. It doesn't always happen for me. But sometimes when you're connecting with, especially as a medium, sometimes you could smell someone's perfume or the smell of cigarettes, or depending on the reading, the taste, it could be like a good or bad taste. I don't know.
Yeah, thank you for covering those. I think sometimes people become afraid of their intuition. They're like, I don't want to start seeing ghosts around. That would freak me out. But I think what people don't realize is whatever it is, typically, this is from my experience, typically starts out really gentle. And it's just like noticing these little subtle nudges, however they show up. And then the more that you actually see them and follow them and trust them, then you actually start to understand them a bit more. And yeah, agreed on all of those. I feel like what I hear from people is they often see things in their mind's eye. They hear certain words, but it might sound like their own voice. And then, yeah, just general feeling. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I just get this like twist in my gut. So I know to avoid something, or I feel really open and light. So I know that that's the right decision.
Yes. And I think you have a really good point about that. People don't realize that they're already so connected. And that's why they question themselves so much, because we see this Hollywood version of what a medium is or a psychic, and that's just, it's not as complex as that. It really isn't. That's the huge secret. It's not as complex. We all have the ability to tap in. And often we're sensing things and we don't even realize it. At least that was my story.
Yeah. And for you, I mean, this is what you do for work. You meet with people, you give them readings, you're able to tap in a really, really clear way because you're working with your gifts all the time. I'm always curious from a medium's point of view, like, do you ever have to shut it off or how do you balance that with just your daily life?
Yeah, absolutely. Boundaries are so important. I am typically only connecting when I'm doing it for work. It's very rare when I'm out in public that spirit will come to me when I'm not asking spirit to connect. But it does happen here and there. If I'm watching TV, sometimes I'll see like someone from the TV, they're connecting with me. I'm like, why are you connecting with me? Or if I'm talking to a stranger at the gym, I might hear them say, oh, mom or dad is here. And if I know them, I might tell them later. But I don't always communicate that if that does happen because I like to respect other people's boundaries and also not everyone's open to it. So I'm not on a mission to convert people into believing in mediumship. But even when it comes down to being able to rest and relax and sleep, in the beginning, I would hear spirit in my room, like whispering or walking around. And I had to really lay down my boundaries. Please, you can talk to me in the morning. Please let me sleep. I don't want to talk right now. This is like, this is not okay. So I haven't had any experiences like that in a while, but if it does happen, I do have noise canceling headphones.
That's great. Yeah. Boundaries on both sides. You're not going up to any Joe Schmo at the gym being like, hey, your grandpa's here and he's saying stop taking steroids. But you're also like, hey, spirit, I need a break. I'm not going to keep all my antennas open, if you will, taking in all of this information all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's really funny too. People will approach me, people in the community, they'll find out I'm a medium and then they'll approach me like, oh, what are you sensing about me right now? I'm like, I am not sensing anything. I'm not connecting to you. I'm trying to like mind my own business, do some grocery shopping.
Like, I'm just living my life.
Exactly. We're human beings at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I'm just realizing the time. I feel like it's flown by. But is there anything that you kind of want to share with our audience? Like any last thoughts about everything that we've talked about today?
I just hope it brings people comfort knowing that their loved ones in spirit are always with them, even their children in spirit who have passed away. And whether that's, like I said, an abortion, miscarriage, stillborn, or even infant loss, your children are with you and their lives are meaningful and they do recognize their importance in your life as well.
That's beautiful. And I ask all my guests this because of the title of the show, Confessions of a Spiritual Entrepreneur. Of course, you are a spiritual entrepreneur, absolutely in the fullest definition. But do you have a confession that you'd like to share with our audience? It could be anything personal or work related.
Ooh, a confession. There's one thing I struggle with when it comes to connection. I do my own reading sometimes, but sometimes I feel biased, especially when it comes to like a love reading or something, because say if I like really want something to work out with someone I have a crush on, and then I second guess myself. So that's my confession. So sometimes I have psychic friends. I'm like, I need you to look into this for me because I am like, I'm all over the place.
Yes.
I'm just a girl.
That is such a good one. That's so real. Yeah, because sometimes if we like really want something to happen, it's like how do you decipher between what is intuition, what's coming through versus like what you want to happen?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Wow, I love that one. Well, Mo, thank you so much for coming onto the show. I've really enjoyed our conversation today. I even appreciate you sharing about like the kids that you're seeing in my life, which is so cool, the stories that you've shared, and it's just been such a gift.
Oh, thank you, Samantha. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here and thank you for having me on.
And where can people find you?
Oh, so I am Mo Mediumship on all platforms, and even my website is momediumship.com. So if you're interested in learning more about me, you can find me there.
Amazing. And I would highly recommend it. You can see some of the drawings that she's done next to the photos of people that have come through, and I think it's just so miraculous to look at. So, Mo, thank you again. We will chat soon. Well, I'm still mind blown. I'm like so hot physically from that episode and everything that we talked about, everything that came through. I hope that this show has given you just another perspective, and whether or not spirit babies as a concept feels relevant to you, or maybe it's just a little bit too esoteric for you, wherever you sit on the spectrum, it's just really interesting to take these things into mind. I think Mo is such a sweet, genuine spirit, and she's very grounded as a psychic medium and has shared so much with us today to think about. And if it's my one wish, it's that you leave this show today knowing a bit more about how your intuition works, and with maybe a little bit of inspiration to sit with it and see how you can strengthen it to just lead just a little bit more of an easeful life. So if you're new to the show, please follow it so you don't miss future conversations like this. I am your host, Samantha Fackler. You can find me on Instagram at samantha.fackler, and I would love to hear how this episode landed for you. Thoughts, comments, questions, I'm here for it. We'll see you next time.